Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for April 21, 2023, the Unrepent edition. We begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal. We, of course, refer to Seagate Technology Holdings, which agreed to pay the highest fine ever issued by the Department of Commerce, $300 million for violating export restrictions placed on Huawei technologies over fears the Chinese tech company poses a threat to the U.S. Seagate said they did nothing wrong. Well, I wonder how that settled with the regulators where you're supposed to admit your culpability. So, still, largest export fine ever, or at least for violating export restrictions. Next up, from the Financial Times, an incredibly interesting op-ed piece from Edward Luce, one of the FT's top columnists. And it talks about the new Washington consensus around China. Every compliance professional needs to read this because Joe Biden clearly wants competition with China. Donald Trump, of course, wanted conflict with China. All of this means that it's going to be more difficult to do business in and with China. China still doesn't take any responsibility for the enslavement of the Uyghurs, and is actively encouraging companies not to comply with the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe around China. Next up from the BBC, the UK business group giant CBI has handed over information to the police, which it describes as a serious criminal defense. That's called a self-disclosure. Now, the City of London police was already investigating claims a woman was raped at a CBI summer party in 2019, but this additional information relates to a new allegation. CBI has been engulfed in crises over a range of allegations from sexual harassment to misconduct and now a criminal self-disclosure. So things cannot be good for CBI. And our final story is from Reuters, which reports that Uganda has charged a third minister in its burgeoning corruption scandal. This is a widening government scandal over the alleged theft of thousands of metal roofing sheets intended for a relief program in the country. On Wednesday, the state minister for Affairs was remanded in prison by a Kampala judge after pleading not guilty to dealing with the suspect property. Nandutu is accused of receiving some 2,000 roofing sheets from government stores. Prosecutors have already charged 2 others in the same case, including Uganda's junior finance minister. So, more corruption allegations in Uganda.
The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.